Okay, so I know I haven't been uploading in the past month, so I thought, what better way to get back into making videos than to make a tier list, because recently I've been playing a lot of Dead by Daylight with my friends, and I've been streaming it, twitch.tv/Blackpyuma, and pretty much, right, there are a lot of different killers out there, some that I like, some that I absolutely hate. But this tier list comes from the point of view as a survivor, and this is honestly my personal tier list, so if you have your own or if you have any disagreements, leave a comment down below on how you would rank the killers. So let's start off. There are a lot of killers, but clearly, you know, most of these are just copies of the same killers over and over again. I made sure this is a tier list that had Nemesis in it because for some reason a lot of tier lists didn't have those. But anyways, no complaints are killers that I, obviously don't have any complaints about going up against. And then this one, this right here, delete ASAP. Oh, God. We're going to start with that one right now. Bubba. Let me tell you, if you play Bubba, if you main him, if you even think about buying him, we can't be friends. Leatherface is just the most annoyingest killer out there. And the reason why I say this is because Bubba is just an upgraded version of the Hillbilly, right? And the Hillbilly already takes a lot of skill to play as because his chainsaws, if you rev it up for too long, it actually overheats and you can't use it for a minute until it cools down. Not to mention that when you actually do the chainsaw dash with the Hillbilly, the turning is terrible. But with Bubba, he pretty much has good turning. Oh, fuck my phone. He pretty much has good mobility. And the fact that his chainsaws can one-shot people, I understand that the Hillbilly can one-shot people as well. But, you have to actually work with it for the Hillbilly. Not to mention, Leatherface has Franklin's Demise. One of the most annoying perks if you're trying to use the map, the key, the flashlight, toolbox, etc. Not only are killers just naturally faster than survivors, but the fact that the revving up the chainsaw and actually sprinting with it makes him a whole lot faster. Every time I see a Bubba online, I just want to disconnect. That's my first reaction. That's my first instinct, but I don't because I don't want to get banned. So that's it for that tier. Very annoying. Let's see. We'll have, we'll have the Doctor at very annoying. And reason why, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can agree with me on this, the Doctor is just a free game most of the time. Like 8 out of 10 times, he's constantly killing a lot of survivors. If he's not killing, he's constantly shocking them, and it's just so annoying to play against the Doctor because it's just shock, shock, shock. Oh, you're insane now. You have to snap out of it. And then when you do, shock, shock, shock. Like you could be, depending on the perk, right? Depending on the add-ons as well. There are times where you are completely in the opposite direction of the Doctor, and he might have the add-on that changes his electric shocks from, being a single beam to being a whole circle that covers his area. A very large portion of his areas, mind you. And you could be working on a generator, not even close to the guy, and you'll end up screaming your ass off. Like, the Doctor is just one of those killers that makes me want him to get nerfed to the point that he's unplayable. But at the same time, like, every time I see the Doctor, or like me and my friends find out that it's the Doctor, we just, we groan. We're like, oh, fuck, we gotta play this game with this bitch. Not all Doctors are good. That can be said for every killer, because it depends the player behind the controller. But still, first game I played with the Doctor, trying to grind for trophies, he was pretty easy, and the map was humongous because I was playing at the RPD, but I managed to kill everyone. So, all right, next we have, let's see. Next, I'm gonna put Legion. Legion is one of those characters that I detest Not as much as the hillbilly, not as much as I detest Leatherface or the Doctor, but he's really close. And the reason why I don't like him is because Legion is pretty fast. He's really fast on his feet. I think he may be the fastest killer in the game. I could be wrong. But another thing about Legion is that sure, he gets frenzy, sure, he stabs you with a deep wound and you have to, you have to mend yourself. But when it comes to dropping pallets on killers, most killers at the time, they would have to actually, either walk around the pallet or break it down. With Legion, he can slide over it. And I'm not saying it's broken, but it's super, super good for him. And if you're playing Legion and you have the right add-ons, he can break the pallet after he slides over it. I'm pretty sure there's some drawback to that add-on. I'm not sure because I don't play Legion. But my god, dude. Legion is just so fast. And he can slide over pallets. He's just a survivor, but with a knife. So, that's the only complaints I can think about. I'm gonna have to say the Trickster is next. Trickster, I know he's like one of the more recent killers, but ever since Trickster got that buff, Trickster has been super annoying. I understand before he wasn't a very much played character because at the time, before an update, Trickster actually needed to throw 8 knives at a survivor to actually down them. And a lot of the times that wouldn't really happen. Most of the survivors would get away or Trickster would lose track of them. And honestly, we were all talking about how it's so unfortunate, how me and my friends were talking about it's so unfortunate that Trickster just isn't getting played much because he has a cool concept. You throw knives and with some add-ons, he can pretty much bounce the knives or he can add additional knives to his inventory or whatever. But ever since we heard that, Trickster is actually going to get a buff where it's going to take 6 knives to down a person rather than 8, we thought that was a fair change. But when the patch came out and we started going up against like 3-4 Tricksters in a row, it was non-stop death and mayhem and carnage. It's unbelievable. Now I'm honestly thinking that 6 knives to down a person is too much, especially when the maximum amount of knives that Trickster can hold I think is 60. So 60 plus it takes 6 to down a person, to injure them and then down them. So that's 12 per character. So I don't know, maybe with the amount of knives that he has, maybe that could be reduced to make him more balanced, because all the Trickster mains are showing up out of nowhere and he's doing crazy shits now. Alright, let's see. Next killer for very annoying has to be the Wraith. The Wraith is the oldest killer, or one of the oldest killers in the game, because, he was there when the game first started. And at some point, Wraith wasn't that good. He was pretty neutral, but he wasn't getting a lot of play because of the new killers that were coming out. But then, he got buffed. And now it's... Wraith is honestly, I believe, one of the top played killers out there. I could be wrong. I'm just speculating most of this from my experience. But the thing that's so annoying about the Wraith is that he's so fast. He is so fast when he's invisible, and then when he gets out of invisibility and he's ready to swing the first person that's closest to him, his lunge distance is just ridiculous. It's so ridiculous because he could fucking travel a whole football field and still hit you. I've seen YouTubers, I've seen streamers play Wraith, and it's crazy. It's so crazy. Like, a whole person could be around the corner hiding, or running away. And when, the Wraith freaking comes out of his invisibility, he manages to catch up to them. Like, he not only does he get a speed boost, but his lunge distance is greatly freaking, it's just greatly, what's the word? Shit. Like, his lunge distance, like, his distance for his lunge is just so, it's just increased by a lot. There we go. So, Wraith, he's not pretty, like, okay, he's not annoying for anything else. It's just the fact that he can go invisible pretty fast, and he can come, and when he, yo, I can't even talk about Wraith, because it just brings back so much bad memories of how I could be, you know, doing a generator. I see him in the distance, and I think to myself, okay, time to run, you know, just drop the pallet and run. He gets out of his invisibility, and he hits me before I drop the pallet, and he could be like 2 or 3 miles away. Like, Wraith is just too fast for his own good that he needs to get nerfed. That's it. That's it for Wraith. But you gotta talk about the Hag. I think I retract my statement about Legion earlier. Yeah, I retract my statement earlier about Legion, about how I believe he's the fastest killer in the game. I just remember that it's actually the Hag. The Hag alone is so fast. It's ridiculous. And not to mention that, like, all these other killers, they need add-ons to make themselves faster, or to make a specific movement faster, or the distance larger. But for the Hag, she doesn't need any of that. The Hag is just one of those killers that can walk, that can give you a whole minute head start, can walk after you, and still catch up in no time. And the thing about Hags too is that when they're going to, like, when you come up against a Hag, and this is probably my experience that I can only speak of, but when my friends and I come up against a Hag, 9 out of 10 times, a Hag is going to run a Hex. Whether it's Ruin, whether it's Devour Hope, whether it's, you know, whatever it may be. Most of the time when they run a Hex, they love to camp. They love to put the traps around the Hex. And then the entire game is pretty much, sure, we can fix generators, but with Ruin on deck, or, you know, with Noed, or pretty much Devour Hope, this game is going to be annoying. It's going to be difficult. There was one specific game with a Hag, where the Hag had Thanophobia, Ruin, I believe, I don't remember what the other 2 perks were. I think Corrupt Intervention was the 3rd one, and it was so annoying. It was so annoying to deal with, because not only were the generators that we were working on slowed down, or, you know, regressing super fast every time we tried to fix it, or we had to leave it because we were getting chased, but the Hag is just too fast. Hag is just too fast, and when we find the Hexes or Ruins, expect like 3 or 4 traps. The only time I can ever think of where the game will be a lot more ridiculous is, but the one time where the Hag was the most toxic encounter that we've ever experienced was, I think it was in one variation of the auto wreck shop. It was in the garage. Like, there was a garage in the center of the map, I believe, or slightly towards one of the edges, and there was a Hex in there. I think it was Hex Ruin, and the Hag had all the traps set in that garage. I'm telling you, from every point of view, like, oh my god, just remembering it gets me so frustrated, because the Hex is all the way in the back left corner. People that remember the map, or that know what I'm talking about, know, like, they're gonna understand. But it's like, there's a generator in front of a car, and pretty much, no, it's not in front of a car. I think it's like in front of garbage or something like that. Just a bunch of trash in the middle. But like the main entrance is, like, the main way to get inside the garage is like through the open doors. And it's one of the places where the killer's basement could be. But my god, dude, the Hex was on the back left side of that building. And every time we tried to get close to it, there was just nothing but freaking traps everywhere. From the freaking left side, the right side, all around it was so annoying, dude. Like, just remembering that makes me want to put the Hag in the delete, like, ASAP part. But, you know, most Hags like to camp. So if you kind of ignore that most of the time, unless it's really bad. Unless it's really bad, you're gonna, you know, you're forced to get that Hex. But after that, you know, most Hags aren't that great. And yeah, I think that's about it. For slightly annoying, I'm just gonna speed blitz here. We got the Huntress, we got Freddy, and we got the Plague. I'm gonna tell you why I put these 3 here. Huntress. Huntress is not really that annoying. Depending on the player, again, this all comes down to my experience. The Huntress is either hit or miss, you know? Because sure, she has add-ons to make her hatchets, you know, down people in one shot. But I want to say it's a fair perk because the max hatchets that the Huntress can get with that add-on is only 1. So, you know, if she lands the hit, it sucks to be whoever got hit. But if she misses, then pretty much, you know, you can get away scot-free. Because she'll have to get another one eventually. Most of the times, though, I have come up against a lot of good Huntresses. For some reason, they like to run a lot of Huntress's Lullaby, which is not really that good of a hex if you ask me. It just gets rid of that little notification when, you know, when you're repairing generators. But even then, you have freaking eyeballs. You know, you have eyes so you can see when it's going to pop up. But other than that, you know, Huntress isn't that bad. Freddy, I remember Freddy used to be so good. Back when Freddy used to come out, the thought of an invisible killer that dragged you into the dream world and gives you a broken neck while you're running, it was so terrifying because a lot of people were wondering, how the hell are we going to see this person? You know, how the hell are we going to see Freddy? He could easily camp in front of a person or be, you know, soft camping someone and, you know, you couldn't see him. But then when he got reworked and, you know, Freddy was now visible, so, you know, without being forced to go into the dream world, it kind of changed things up. He's still the most proficient killer out there, in my opinion. But the only thing that makes him slightly annoying is just the fact that, you know, Freddy, sure, he has his dream traps, which requires you to be in the dream world to actually suffer from those. But he also has fake pallets, which in my mind, in my opinion, is a lot more dangerous. Because a lot of players like to depend on pallets to get away. Some depend on it more than others. Because when playing as killer, there are some survivors out there, and you know who you are, where you'll run by every single pallet and just drop it without a second thought. You wouldn't even try to think about looping the killer, you just drop it in an instant. And in the long term, it pretty much fucks over your teammates. But with Freddy, for him to actually drop fake pallets, those players actually get, you know, fucked over. They get destroyed so easily because they wasted time dropping a pallet, not realizing that, oh shit, someone used it, and now this is a trap, and I'm dead. So, you know, there are times where I've come up against, or that I've accidentally used fake pallets because my friends and I weren't coordinating as to which pallets we've already used, or we forgot, and, you know, it didn't really make us suffer in the long term where we lost a lot of games. We lost some here and there, but it wasn't consistent. Maybe we weren't going up against good Freddys, but still. I think it's also a little annoying that he now has a passive timer that drags you into the dream world. I'm not really sure what's the difference with being in the dream world and being in the real world. All I know is that it gives you a broken neck, but after that, I don't see a difference. It's just more annoying to go for alarm clocks and whatnot. The Plague. The Plague, I gotta say, it's a really weird character to go up against, if I'm being honest. The Plague is slightly annoying. Okay, you know what? Let me change this up. The Plague is right there on, like, she's right outside the doorstep of being very annoying. And the reason why I say this is because the Plague likes to vomit on a lot of shit. Good Plague players will vomit on everything. On hooked survivors, on generators. Hell, though, if they could, you know, they'll vomit on lockers, they'll vomit on whatever the hell the game allows them to. And sure, when a person cleanses themselves, it actually powers up the Plague. But I think it's just more of the fact that, oh my god, I just washed off this vomit, now I gotta freaking wash myself off again, and it's just annoying just seeing that over time, if you don't wash off the vomit, you actually become injured. You know, most people will actually just try to gen rush everything and say, you know, fuck everything, we're just gonna fix gens. We're just going to, you know, focus on the objective regardless of what it is, and just get it over with. Next three are Pig, Michael, and the Blight. Reason why I picked these three in the slightly annoying instead of anything else is because with the Pig, it really comes down to getting caught. You know, if you get caught, obviously you know what's coming next. The bear trap, and that's just the only aspect that I can think of when it comes to the Pig. Actually, yeah, Pig is slightly at the very end of this tier for being annoying. Because it's just the RNG factor of, you know, having to travel across to a jigsaw box to try and get the bear trap off. But the best thing about it is that if you want to get around it and you want to buy yourself a lot of time, just tell your friends not to finish a generator. You know, just stay by it until you get it off. Unless you're going to die, you know, because you're getting hooked a second time, then go ahead, you know, tell them to finish it. But a lot of people can just get around it by not finishing a generator and then, you know, just go ahead and look for the right jigsaw box. Michael. Michael isn't one of those characters that's like, oh my god, I hate fighting Michael. For us, it's always a surprise when it comes to, you know, coming up against a Michael. Sure, the only annoying thing that I can ever think of are possibly three things. One, it's a Michael that, and this is a rare occasion, but it does happen. It's a Michael that never leaves tier 1. Evil Within 1, dude, is, in my mind, probably the most terrifying. No, second most terrifying compared to tier 3, because tier 3, you know, he can instant down you. But tier 1, he has that undetectability, and he can stalk. He can get those free, he can pretty much feed off of anybody, you know, until he can't feed them anymore. And pretty much he can move up a tier if he wants. But those tier 1 Michaels that never ever move up those tiers, it's terrifying. Because you're gonna have to be aware of your surroundings, and if you're not, you can easily get sneaked up from behind. The Blight, the only thing I have issues with the Blight is that he's really fast. Like, before when I first played the Blight, I never understood what was the point of, like, you know, the 6 vaccines or the 6, you know, medicine syringes that he has, until I realized that you have to use his dash in a way where he bounces off surfaces, because the first time you dash, you can't attack a person. That's just the rule that's enforced in Blight players. You can't attack on the first dash unless you bump into something. And the Blight is really fast, but his mobility and turning sucks. Like, the turning sucks on the Blight. Unless you have some add-ons to make him turn a lot better. Most of the times, if you're running in a straight line, you know, you pretty much gotta vault over a window or vault over a pallet, because the lunge for the Blight is pretty good. It's pretty good, and it has a lot of distance. Not to mention, that's the only time when his turning actually is a little bit better than normal. But after that, you know, Blight's here and there. He doesn't walk very fast. I think he has a limp, so it causes him to have, like, slower than average walk speed, so you're forced to use that dash. But that's about it. I forgot to put Nemesis in here. Nemesis is one of those killers that, even though he's new, oh my lord. Playing Nemesis is annoying sometimes, and playing against him can be annoying too. You know what? No, Nemesis has to be right here. If anything, Nemesis is probably, but like, he's probably underneath Trickster but above Wraith. And reason why I put him there, first off, he has 2 AI controlled zombies. The zombies aren't the best, because when Nemesis first came out, my lord, did those zombies get stuck. I tried to, like, as soon as Nemesis came out, I bought him and I played him, and at first he was a finicky character. At first, you know, you're wondering, like, yo, bro, what is this? You know, like, these zombies are constantly getting stuck. There's that one lint in the air that's just getting these zombies stuck They're getting stuck behind trees or rocks, and it's so annoying. The only thing I will say about zombies though is that if you speed up their movements, they can be really annoying. They can be a nuisance to the point that it's pretty much harassment to the survivors. And Nemesis can get because Nemesis also has tiers, so he can level up and pretty much make the whip a lot better. Because tier 1, his whip's, you know, pretty trash. Tier 2, he can start breaking pallets with whips, and the distance is, you know, the distance of the whip is a lot longer. And tier 3, you know, he can break pallets, the whip is longer, and his recovery is longer. Or not longer, it's a lot shorter. So, at that point, you know, Nemesis, he's pretty fast too. He's a pretty fast killer. I think his walk speed is pretty average, but when he infects you with the whip to the point where you have to look for a vaccine, and to the point that you're injured too, dude, he catches up to you like if it's nothing, like if it's no issues whatsoever. Another thing about the whip too, like this is just mainly his whip, that's a big complaint. It's the only reason why he's very annoying, to be honest. Sure, you know, the whip has to be very precise most of the time, but let's be honest, if a survivor is going to drop a pallet, or they're going to vault over a window, that's a free hit right there. It's a free hit for the zombies to take care of, or it's a free hit so that later on they're coughing up like crazy, you know, like they have COVID, and you can find them a whole lot easier. After that, everything else about Nemesis is pretty average. So, yeah. Alright, so now for the okay tiers. I have the clown, I forgot what his name was. It's not the executioner, that's Pyramid Head. The Trapper, there we go. So the clown, the Trapper, the hillbilly, Demi Gorgon, Deathslinger, the twins, and the nurse. I put the nurse right here at the very end. She's almost close to the no complaints, but the only reason why I put her at okay instead of no complaints is because there aren't a lot of nurses out there. And if there are, most of them are bad, and there are very few that are good. The only thing that I can ever think of about the nurse is pretty much in the hands of a good nurse. They can know when to blink. They know the right moments to blink. Because a lot of bad nurses just blink willy-nilly and just think, oh, you know, I can't catch them because I'm constantly blinking, but she constantly has the freaking cooldown where if you don't blink at a certain amount of time, you know, she loses the power. She loses her focus, or, you know, she gets stunned pretty much. But in the hands of good nurses, dude, that shit is a nightmare. Good nurses can hit you through pallets, they can hit you while you're vaulting, they can hit you while you're running, they can predict where you're gonna go. It's just so... It's a lot to handle, and if you escape a good nurse, you know, you're lucky. Because, oh, like a rank 1 to 4 nurse? Dude, they're nothing to laugh at. Like, you gotta give them credit. The twins. The twins could be lower. They could be to the point where, you know, again, have no complaints, but that's once again because there's not a lot of twins. There's not a lot of twin players out there, and I think the reason why is just the how do I explain it? The players are probably intimidated by the fact that you have to control two things, you know, two characters, not at the same time, but two characters in one game. You know, because while, you know, you have Victor over here, you know, the little baby out of the human kangaroo sack. Victor is just there to pretty much stun the player or just to keep them occupied. Well, I forgot what her name was. Well, the big chick, you know, she freaking goes over there and pretty much just does the hitting and does the damage. What I see a lot of, or, you know, at least the twin players that I come up against, and including one of my friends, what they do is they pretty much camp the hex just in case somebody wants to come by it and cleanse it. Just in case. So pretty much they'll have Victor rolling around, you know, looking for survivors, and if they manage to connect with the survivor and they manage to actually get them occupied, the main body will be protecting the hex. So, you know, sometimes it'll be hard to tell if the player is actually playing as Victor or if they're playing as, you know, the older sister or whatever. And I think it's just funny when Victor misses his lunges and you get to kick him. But still, like, he's tiny as hell, so sometimes he's hard to see. Deathslinger. Deathslinger is one of those characters that I like the concept of him having, like, a harpoon gun. But man, oh man, at least on console, can I say that playing as the Deathslinger, especially on PS4, bro, oh my lord. Playing as Deathslinger is so annoying because you could aim and you could shoot the harpoon, but if, you know, if the game is horrible or someone has horrible internet or a survivor has dead hard, best believe you're probably gonna skip a couple frames. It's going, like, you're gonna feel like 10 seconds of your life has just blinked out of existence for no reason. Because so far, at the moment of recording this, this is a day after Dead by Daylight got the console version at least got a performance update. So there's less lagging and there's less freeze that happens during games. But I'm telling you, man, playing as Deathslinger, you cannot laugh at the people that shoot their shots and land the hit. Deathslinger, you have to be precise with your aim. Your aim has to be top notch, because if it's not top notch, you can easily miss a survivor and the reload time takes forever. Not to mention too that when you actually land the hit, there are times where survivors are going to hide behind an object so that the chain breaks faster. But if you can actually prevent them from doing that, Deathslinger becomes a massive nuisance. So that's all I gotta say about him. The Demi Gorgon. Where do I start off with this character? Demi Gorgon he's in the middle of this tier because he's not the most annoyingest, but he's not the worst. You know, he's in the balance of I'm here and that's it. The only thing annoying that I can think about is the fact that he has those tunnels that he pretty much puts on the ground and travels through the map. But even then, you know, he needs a specific amount of space in order to do it. So in closed environments like in the RPD map or at the asylum or at the, you know, at these other closed locations, he's gonna struggle a bit to find that sweet spot to actually, you know, to go tunneling and to, you know, to go underground. Sure, he has that lunge, but a lot of Demi Gorgons that I've come up against, they don't really use the lunge that much. Probably because it's so easy to avoid it. But after that, you know, there's really not much to say about Demi Gorgon. Hillbilly. I have not seen a lot of hillbillies these days. I'm gonna be honest. The only thing I can think about that makes the hillbilly qualify for this tier is just the fact that there are some hillbillies out there that get extremely lucky with their chainsaws. Because like I stated at the very beginning of this video, hillbilly is just a downgraded version of Bubba. And not gonna lie, the turning is bad. Even with the add-ons, turning is still bad. Revving up the chainsaw and being able to run across the map is possibly the only good thing about it. So if a survivor just so happens to be unfortunate enough to run in front of you by accident, I guess that's a good thing for the killer. Because, not gonna lie, depending on the skill level of the player, Hillbilly's not gonna get a lot of kills. But I will say that he has one of the best perks, which is Lightborn Eyes. Lightborn Eyes is one of the best perks in my opinion, because when you climb the higher ranks, dude, everyone and their fucking mothers and fathers and grandfathers and forefathers love to use the flashlight, dude. I'm telling you, playing as killers, you see people with flashlights left and right. Oh, you just downed a survivor and you're ready to carry them? Oh, guess what? You got blinded by 2 different people at 70 different angles using the flashlight. Like, bro, I'm just trying to get my kills. There. Okay. But, after that, yeah, that's about it for Hillbilly. Trapper. Trapper is just, you know, the default of... He's just honestly the default of the killers. You know, he was the first one there. He's the poster boy. But he's really not that good. But he's not that bad either. He's just at the neutral point of, I'm here, you know, I'll probably get a game or 2 with a couple wins, but most of the time I'll probably lose, because as you climb the higher ranks, survivors are more aware of what's going on in their environment. If they see a bear trap, you know, they're going to actually disarm it. And being the trapper, you know, there's only so much you can do, because he's, you know, he's the default killer. He's the default killer. He doesn't have the complexity of other characters like Blight or the Plague or freaking, you know, or Michael Myers. He doesn't have that complexity. He's just a simple killer. Puts down a trap, and then he tries to lure you into it. Or he'll just put random traps where he thinks players are going to run to. There is one perk, though, that makes him slightly better. And I forgot what it's called, but it's the one perk where every 30 seconds, a random trap will open and will be activated. I'm telling you, that perk is so good, because you can put it, like, especially in the I forgot what it's called, but like, especially in like the farm areas, or, you know, in places where like grass is covering a lot of the terrain, you can put a trap inside the bush, and, you know, a survivor sees it and they're like, oh, okay, huh, I disarmed it, I'm out, I'm free. And then 30 seconds later, that same trap could be open. So when you're chasing the survivor, you know, they're gonna be asking their friends, oh, is there a trap here, or something like that, I don't know. And, you know, their friend is gonna be like, okay, I disarmed a trap by X, Y, and Z. Survivor's gonna run to it. Oh, they got caught. And that's a free grab for you. You know, unless they have fucking flashlights and flashbangs and shit. But moving on. The Clown. Clown is just one of those killers that he's at the very border of no complaints. Reason why is because I don't face a lot of clowns. And when I do, clowns aren't that tough. They're just a free game, in my opinion. Sure, he has the bottles that he can just throw to slow you down. But most of the clowns that I face don't even bother attempting to throw it, because, I don't know, I guess their aim is bad, or I don't freaking know. Probably they just... I have no idea why they don't do it. But the some that do, they just completely miss their mark, or they throw it, I drop down a pallet, and then the effects of the gas is just irrelevant. So, yeah. Now we have the no complaints. Probably the only killer I have for no complaints. Probably has to be Ghostface. Yeah. Probably has to be Ghostface. I know I didn't put the Oni or Pyramid Head or the Spirit on the list, but, you know, I'm gonna go back, because most of them are on the slightly annoying list. But Ghostface is probably the only killer I have no complaints about. And the reason why is because, sure, Ghostface is pretty good. No, actually... Actually, yeah. Thinking about it, Ghostface is the one killer that I don't have a lot of complaints about. Because think of it like this. He's basically a sneaky boy like Michael Myers. However, he has one flaw. Right? If he crouches, he's slower. Unless he has an add-on. If he stalks you... If he's stalking you normally, it takes a while to actually, you know... In order for the exposed status to affect a survivor. Unless he's, you know, unless he's sneaking and stalking you around corners. Or leaning around corners and whatnot. Then that meter goes up real fast. But the one way you can stop him with that is just to look at him. You know? That's just pretty much it. Just look at Ghostface and pretty much that's it. All the progress he made stalking you is just thrown out the window. Doesn't really matter. Sure, he's still pretty fast, but I want to say Ghostface is one of those killers that hasn't been touched at all since his release, and he's still finicky. There are times where you can, you know, where you can be close to Ghostface and you can run away, or, you know, you can pretty much break his ankles and run around him. But his targeting, for some reason, like probably it's because like the way how he holds a knife, because instead of holding it with the tip pointed outwards, he holds it with the, you know, with the tip aiming downwards for the stab. Probably is for that reason that he has such weird tracking that doesn't always hit the survivors. But yeah, once you find Ghostface, or once you see him like stalking you or whatever, all you gotta do is just look at him, and pretty much he just loses a lot of progress. Unlike Michael, you can stare at him all you want, but you know you have to run away. So yeah, that's it for Ghostface. The Oni. Gonna put him in slightly annoying. Pyramid Head. Gonna put him... Yeah, Pyramid Head has to go to very annoying at times. And the Spirit gonna put her on slightly annoying. Pyramid Head for very annoying. Why? Simple. He has attacks that can go through walls, dude. It's so annoying. Like, there are times where a Pyramid Head could be, you know, on the opposite side of a wall. Here's you fixing a generator. What does he do? Stab through the floor, and then just releases. And if his aim's good, he'll hit you. But most of the times he doesn't need to aim because he can just get a better angle on you. He can just attack you diagonally and most of the attacks will actually land. But yeah. He's also one of the killers that pretty much breaks the rules. So he doesn't necessarily have to hook you. If you for some reason, right, touch his barbed wires, he can just teleport you to a random location, instantly hooking you. So that's that. Not to mention, a lot of Pyramid Heads, when they hook a survivor, they don't necessarily need to camp. They can just play petty by having the... I forgot what it's called, but like it's pretty much with like the barbed wires, and they could pretty much set up a perimeter so that if a survivor is going to unhook that person, you know, they're pretty much caught in the wires. Especially when you play on that Silent Hill map, oh my god. And you're caught in the courtyard, dude, he could just block both sides of the entrance and you're forced to walk over it. Unless you want to waste all that time going to the second floor, dropping down, and even then there's still a good chance that you're gonna land on the wires. The Oni. Oni is just... he's one of those killers that can easily feed off one person. If he wants to, he can bully a single person, get all the blood that he needs, and then he's enraged. And I'm telling you, his dash is so crazy, dude. It is too ridiculous. it's sometimes very terrifying, but he's not like old Oni when he first came out, where if he's doing the dash and then he does the attack, he has a huge hitbox that you can be to the side of him, you can be, you know, to the left, to the right, slightly a little bit farther away from the attack from where you normally land, you're gonna get hit. But now that they changed him a bit, they tweaked him, you have to actually be dead on precise when you're charging at a person. So that's that. Not to mention, when he carries a survivor, he instantly gets out of the rage. So it's not like the rage is always there, but he can get it very quickly, depending if, you know, he wants, depending on his play style. Because if he's gonna go for one single killer, one single survivor, sure, he can actually do that. But a lot of Onis will actually injure everybody at least once, to the point where he can follow their scratch marks and their blood and still feed off anybody that they want. And then there's lastly the Spirit. Spirit is just a character that in my mind can be very tricky sometimes, because as the Spirit does the little phase walk, or, you know, spirit walk or whatever, freaking from their point of view, they can't see anything. They can't see the survivors like how other killers can see them. Instead, they have to actually depend on the scratch marks and depend on looking at the environment, seeing if the grass moves, or, you know, listening to hear the breathing or hear the generators being worked on. That doesn't mean it's less of an annoying killer to go up against, but you gotta understand that Spirit needs a lot of work to be very consistent some of the time. Sure, there are add-ons that can make the Spirit see the drops of blood that a survivor would leave on the floor, because even those normally are just completely gone. And even with that add-on, you know, I think there is a drawback where you can't see scratch marks. So there's that. Not to mention too that there is an add-on that makes her tremendously faster than normal when she's doing the, you know, the phase walking. But, you know, the duration of the walk is so short that you can only do it in like short bursts. So after that, that's all I have to say about these killers. I think that's everyone. I think that is everyone. So if I missed anything, sorry, I guess. But yeah, that's it. From Ghostface to having no complaints to freaking wanting to, I want Leatherface to be deleted. Simple as that. Like, he's the entity, he's the embodiment of a character that I hate. But from Ghostface to Leatherface to everyone in between, these are all the killers on how annoying I ranked them. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll try to be back with the consistency on the videos. Let me know what your tier lists are, or let me just know how you rank these killers from least annoying to the most annoyingest. And let me know why. I'll actually read the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.